Stewart Island is the third largest island of New Zealand. It is home to Rakiura National Park, which covers about 85% of its area. From harlequin geckos to southern brown kiwis, it hosts unique wildlife that can be found nowhere else. Among them is a little-known shorebird, the southern New Zealand Dotterels, and they are in deep trouble. Living in the harsh elements of a subalpine habitat, they are threatened by feral cats that raid their nests and deer that eat up their eggs. Life for a Dotterel is a battle against the odds. With only 167 left in the wild, these birds are more endangered than the kakapo. They are on the edge of extinction. But all is not lost. To protect the birds, a team of rangers from the Department of Conservation are putting in a great effort. They camp on the hills in harsh weather and tramp the vast wilderness. And they are beating all odds to save every single Dotterel. The southern New Zealand Dotterels are among the rarest birds on the planet. They are quite different from the northern Dotterels that nest on the warm sandy beaches of the North Island. The southern birds seek out the wild, windy hills of Stewart Island to nest on. A bizarre home for a shorebird. And the neighbourhood is not trouble-free. Introduced predators have nibbled away at the Dotterels. Feral cats take eggs and hunt adult birds sitting on the exposed nests. The deer, once introduced for hunting, have turned into Dotterel predators by gobbling up their eggs. Now, these native birds are at the risk of disappearing forever. But the Department of Conservation team at Rakiura National Park is set to turn things around.
The Southern New Zealand Dotterel recovery program is split into two main areas of work. We've got the predator control component and we've got the monitoring component. A few years ago, there were only a couple of rangers really working on it, but now we've got Adam, Monty, Mike and Tabby, as well as myself and a couple of the other rangers in the office. So we've got a much bigger team now that can dedicate their efforts to saving the Dotterel. Everyone understands that this is a subspecies that's on the brink, and we could lose them at any time, and that's a really motivating factor for us to get out there and do the best that we can, both in that little office cubicle but also out on the tops as well.
It's November, Dotterel breeding season. Mike Douglas and his team set off on their trip to Ting Range at the heart of Stewart Island. This is a crucial step on their journey to save the Dotterel.
When I started 5 years ago, the bird numbers were almost at their highest point, and then slowly they started to drop again, and then really rapidly. And it was a wake-up call, and the department realised that if it wanted to save the species, it needed to do something quite drastic. Coming up here, we are trapping for cats. We're using bait stations, poison bait stations for targeting cats and rats. We're doing targeting shooting for deer and spur-winged plovers and also harriers. We lay out a whole lot of different types of traps, so we use kill traps and also live capture traps. So when we're setting a leg hold trap, the first thing you've got to do is make a little small depression and then form what we call hazing. So you're almost building like walls on either side to direct that cat so it has no choice but to stand in that trap. The final stage is to cover everything with a really fine layer of duff, like small leaves, really small fine sticks. Then you put your bait or lure, and the trick there is getting it so that the trap looks covered but will still function perfectly as a trap.
In order to keep the native ground birds like kiwi and the weka from getting caught, the leg hold traps are raised off the ground.
We're also using a trap which is designed for catching beavers. We're getting them brought in and they close and hold around the chest of the cat and actually kill it. We're sort of getting a chance to really get down and get into the nitty-gritty of how to catch a cat, and we get a lot of freedom to experiment with different technique. So all our new sort of innovation, I guess, we mount a camera on it. You see a cat, how it walks around a trap. Maybe there's just one little thing in the way that's stopping it from taking that extra step. So the camera footage is really useful for that, and we can use that information then to change what we're doing and become more effective.
Laying out poison baits is another tool to control predators in the vast open tops. Mike lays 10 pellets in each station, about 100 stations in all. A mighty task for a day's work. But a tougher job is to find a Dotterel nest.
So we spend a lot of time just walking around. We don't know exactly where a nest is going to be. We spend a lot of time just walking around looking. You'll see a bird will come running up to you quite often, displaying with a broken wing, pretending that it's injured, and runs off, getting you to lure you away from the nest. And that's your first clue that you're onto something. And then from there you sit back and watch the bird and see where it goes back, and it sort of goes back to its nest, and you're like, right, there it is. And you sort of move in to see what you've got. And it's really satisfying finding nests because it isn't easy. I've been working for 5 years, well 5 seasons on the project, and I've never seen any chicks in a nest ever. And just the other day found a nest and it had 2 chicks that had only probably hatched within the last hour. And for me that's quite special. That's something that not many people are going to see. That's just something that makes the job, one of the things that makes the job really awesome.
It takes great commitment to work in the extremes of Stewart Island. And for Mike, this place is special.
Some days when it's terrible weather and you're just trudging around doing bait stations, you wonder, why am I doing this? But then when you get a lovely sunny day like this and you're just up on the top of the hill in the middle of nowhere in an environment that feels like maybe you're the only one that's ever stepped where you're currently standing, it makes it all worthwhile. So the Table Hill hut for me, it's the little oasis of protection. And if you're lucky enough, there might be someone else working with you. It's back to basics living. You get up, you make coffee for each other in the morning, have breakfast together, go out, do your work, generally on your own, come back, and it's just great to be able to catch up with someone about what you're doing during the day. So I guess, the amount of time I've spent here in the last 5 years really makes this hut feel like my second home.
All the hours of working hard on the tops is beginning to pay off.
After we began that new program in 2017, we got a count of 153, so it was about a 21% increase. And then earlier this year we got the flock count coming in at 167, so yeah, we've had 2 increases over the last 2 years, and we're hoping that you know, it's been effective and this is going to be something that continues. Predator control and monitoring under the recovery program is crucial, and we see that as being the way that we're going to reach our target, which is for 300 birds by 2025. We're hoping to bring those birds back from the brink of extinction.
In 2019, the Dotterel numbers stand at 170, an increase for the 3rd straight year. For Mike and his team, the trip comes to an end, but the journey doesn't. Like the gusty winds over Stewart Island, they will persist and safeguard the survival of the southern New Zealand Dotterels.